started. So today we are going to learn how to create a sample Unity project in Unity. So what you have to do is you need to open the application known as Unity Hub, which was installed into your system. So let's get started. So open up that application. Once the application starts, what you have to do is you are going to observe two buttons over the top right corner, which includes add and new. So to create a new project in Unity, you need to click on that new button. Once you click on that new button, you are going to see a pop-up menu which immediately is been displayed over your screen. So there are several templates in it, which includes 2D, 3D with extras, high definition render pipeline, and low weight render pipeline template. So to create a project in Unity, it is very important you select any one of those templates, because this determines what type of project you are going to build. So since I want to create a 3D game, so I'm going to select this 3D template. If you want to create a 2D game, you can select this 2D template. And what are this 3D with extras, high definition render pipeline, low weight render pipeline? We are going to look at them later in this course, so don't worry. So since I want to create this 3D game, so I'm going to select this 3D template, and then I'm going to name my project as Sample Unity 3D Project. Once I name my project, I need to hit that create button. So once I hit that create button, Unity is going to build the project for me. So it might take some time depending upon your system, but don't worry, it will load soon. Okay, as you can see, Unity has built up the project name Sample Unity 3D Project. So now let's look at those functions which are included in the Unity. So these functions I will explain to you later in this course. So today we are going to look at the working of the Unity application. So as you can see, I have opened the previous project which we built in the previous lecture, which was Sample Unity 3D Project. So now I'm going to show you what it does. So as you can see, there are several tabs included in my Unity UI, or you can say the interface. So what you have to do is my interface and your interface wouldn't match with each other. So what you can do is, first and foremost thing which I wanted to tell you is, you can select any one of those tabs and you can drag it anywhere and place it anywhere wherever you like. So as you can see, I placed this hierarchy tab over here beside this scene tab. So you can do it with any of the tab over the present in the Unity interface. So now with that said, guys, what we are going to study about today is the scene. What is a scene in the Unity? What is a scene tab in a Unity? So a scene contains the environment and menus of your game. Okay, and think of each unique scene file as a unique level. In each scene, you place your environments, obstacle, and decoration, essentially designing and building your game in phases. So basically you do all the editing work in the scene. So now let's take a look over the game objects. So what are the game objects? In the hierarchy, you can see there are some objects known as main camera, directional light. These are the game objects which are present in the hierarchy, or you can say which are present in the current level. So if you want to create another object, what you have to do is just right click on that hierarchy and then go to the 3D object and select any one of those 3D object. So I want to select a cube. So as you can see, cube has been generated over the scene, inside the scene, and if you transform it means move it from one place to another, it can move. You have to just drag any of the axes. So as you can see, I can move my cube forward and backward. So what is a game object? Essentially, a game object is the most important concept in the Unity editor. Every object in your game is a game object, from character and collectible items to lights, cameras, and special effects. So however, a game object can't do anything on its own. You need to give it properties before it can become a character, an environment, or a special effect. So what is the properties? These properties is nothing but the scripts, the properties which include these components which are present on the inspector. These all are the properties of a game object. So with that said, guys, now we are going to take a look at the components. What are the components? A game object always contains a component, and this component relationship works using the most common component, the transform component. So if you select the cube, which is on the hierarchy menu, so if I select that cube, we are going to see some kind of components present over the inspector tab. As you can see, this is the inspector tab, and you are going to see the information about the cube. So here what kind of information does we have about the cube is the name of the cube. Since the name is cube, we have got it as cube. Now what is that? The second component is the transform component. What is a transform component? It is impossible to create a game object in the editor without a transform component, and this component defines the game object's position, rotation and scale in the game world and the scene. So this is nothing but, this transform is nothing but the position of the object in this scene, or you can say in the game world, or you can say the level. So this is the position. As you can see, the x is on the -3.67. It is located on the x-axis at -3.67, on the y at 0.93, and on the z as -3.38. And this is the rotation over the each of those individual axes. So suppose I want to change the rotation of the object at x-axis. So what I'm going to do is just simply type in any angle. So I want to make it 90, or not 90, I want to make it 45. So as you can see, the cube has been rotated over the x-axis to a certain angle, which is a 45. So if you don't want to do it manually, you can do it using some shortcut keys or buttons. So there is a rotate tool button over the top left corner of the editor. So as you can see, we have selected first this move tool, and if you want to rotate, move tool helps you to move the object over the scene, in entire scene. You can move this object in the entire scene anywhere, wherever you like. So if you want to rotate this tool, what you have to simply do is just click on that rotate tool, and you can rotate it individually on the any axis. So if you don't click on that particular axis and you just try to do randomly click over that circle and then just rotate, as you can see, the cube has been rotating over all of the axes. So this was all about the rotate tool. And if you want to scaling means increasing the size of the cube. So if you want to increase the size of this cube, you can do it manually in the inspector, in the transform component, or you can do it using the shortcut buttons, which include scale tool also. So beside rotate tool, there is a scale tool. So if you click on that, you can scale it individually, as I can individually in different axes, or you can scale it if you just click on that center. If you click on that center cube, which is a white cube, if you click it and drag it, you are going to scale it over the entire axis in entire 3D system, that is in all the direction x, y and z. So that this is it about the scale tool. And there are also shortcut keys for these tools. If you use Q, you are going to go for this going to go for the hand tool. If you select W, if you click the W button over the keyboard, then you are going to immediately transform to a move tool. If you press E of your keyboard button, then you are immediately going to transform to the you are immediately going to get a control over the rotate tool. And if you press the R key, you are going to immediately get a control over the scale tool. So that's it guys about the transform in the Unity. Now since my cube is totally messed up, what I have to do now is I want to reset the transform component of this cube. So what you have to do is just select the cube in the hierarchy menu, or you can say the tab, and then just go to the inspector and select the transform component, or you can manually just make it 0, or what you have to do is just, you can see a question mark button, and beside that there is a small handle button, and at the last you have got a settings icon. So what you have to do is that there is a small gear, right? So what you have to do is just click on that gear and just set to reset. So now the transform of the cube is going to reset it. So now what we are going to do is we are going to study about the activation and deactivation of a game object in a scene. So if you want to activate, what does activation and deactivation actually mean? So activation means the game object is present and is active and can be seen actively over the game scene. So what is a game scene? A game scene is a view where you can't do any kind of editing, or which is or you can say is a format of a game where you actually test the game. So if I press the play button, which is over the hierarchy in my Unity editor, if I press that play button, the Unity is going to start play. And as you can see, I can do nothing because there is nothing included in the game, or you can say in the level. So this is the this is the game view, what a user is going to observe while playing the game. This is nothing. That is nothing but a game view. So what you have to do right now is I want to activate and deactivate this object. So if you want to activate this object, the basic thing which you need to do is you are going to observe, once you click on that cube in the which is present in the hierarchy, what you have to do is you click on that cube and go to the inspector and decide where is the name of the cube present. The cube where the cube is written, beside that there is a check mark. So if you just uncheck it, the cube is going to be deactivated and it is not present in the game view anymore. And now once again, if I check that checkbox, then the game the cube is going to be activated. So this is nothing but the activation and deactivation of the game object in the game scene. So with that said, guys, now we are going to look at the another important functionality of this Unity game engine, which is the prefab system, which allows you to create, configure, store a game object complete with all its component property values and child game object as a reusable asset. The prefab asset acts as a template for you from which you can create a new prefab instance in the scene. So what a prefab does, it creates a copy of the object or of the game object which is present on the hierarchy. As you can see, the game object which is present currently in the hierarchy, or you can say in the scenes, are main camera, directional light, and a cube. So if you want to save this cube, and want to use this same cube, you can, let's change the transform of the cube. So if I make 10 on the x-axis and 4 on the z-axis, now you can see this cube is not same, right? So if you want to reuse this same cube, what you can actually do is you have to just store it as, or you can say you have to make a prefab of it. What you have to do basically is just click on that cube, and hold that cube and then just drag it over the project panel, or you can see the project tab, and just leave it right there. So as you can see, a prefab has been set. So now once you drag that prefab over the scene, you can see that the same transform of the cube is being generated again. And there is one more option which you can do, is you can just duplicate the cube which is present in the hierarchy using the Ctrl D shortcut key. So as you can see, I have created another cube, and now I am pressing Ctrl D again, and I have created another cube of the same transform, but the position of that transform has been different. So there is nothing to worry about it. So once you create a prefab of an object, you can see a change between these objects, right? Since the camera has got no prefab, the icon which is present over here is not blue, it is just a simple white, or you can see a transparent cube. So once you create a prefab, it changes into blue. So if I want to unpack, so whatever changes you make here, so let's change the transform of this cube again. As you can see, I have just scaled it to 1 on the x-axis, and I want to scale it to 5 on the y-axis. So as you can see, the change has been made. So once the change has been made and I drag the prefab, you can see there is no change occurred on the cube which is present in the project panel, or you can see the prefab of that cube. So if you want to apply those changes to that cube also which is present in the prefab, what you have to do is just click on that cube, and once you click on that, you are going to get those information, or you can get all of these components present in this cube in the inspector tab. What you have to do is you have to go to the override key, or you can see the override button, or you can see a drop down menu. So just click on that override which is present here, and then use the apply all key. Once you press the apply all key, that prefab transform is going to be applied to the prefab also. So now if you drag that prefab, you are going to observe the same transform of the scale which was present in that cube, which is currently in the hierarchy, or you can say the game scene. So that's it of the prefab. Now let's take a look over the physics system present in the Unity game engine. So what is a physics? So physics is generally the physics which is there in our science subject. So physics is nothing but adding a force, adding the velocity to a game object, adding an acceleration to a game object. A physics in the game, in this Unity, you can add it using the rigid body component. So first of all, what I have to do is just drag this prefab over this scene, and what I have to do is go into the inspector and click on that add component button. Now what you have to do is search for rigid body. So So this is the rigid body component which we need to use. You don't have to click on that rigid body 2D because then those rigid bodies are for this component is for the 2D games, 2D game objects. So for the 3D you have to click on this rigid body. So once you click on that rigid body, the game is going to create a physics related to it. So the object is now going to be influenced by a gravity, because the gravity, use gravity checkbox has been checked. So if I press the play button, what I am going to observe is this cube is going to fall down. So as you can see, I have pressed the play button, and as you can see, the cube has been fallen down in the scene, in the game view. So now if I pause the game, or you can say I just come back to my scene, you can observe those physics. So what I have to do right now is, I don't want it to be influenced by gravity, so I would just uncheck that, and I want it to be kinetic. Kinetic means I want it to be stay on a specific point, on that point only. So I would check on that is kinematic. So now if I play the game, it is not going to get influenced by the gravity. So this was all about the rigid body, and the later part and all of those other functionality, we are going to look at them later in this course, so don't worry. So now with a rigid body set, what we have to do is we are going to look at the colliders. So what are the colliders? So colliders are nothing but a kind of a box, or you can say a kind of a boundary of the created over the surface of the game object. So as you can see, there is a green border present over the game object. So as you can see, once I have done the clipping of that object, you can see those green lines. These lines are nothing but the collider. So what this does, so let's take a look at them practically. So I would just drag this drag this game object up in the sky, or you can say I would transform it over the y-axis at 7.91, or let's make it a whole number, like make it 10. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane. So 3D and create a plane. So now as you can see, I have created a plane in the Unity game engine, and now as you can see, I'm dragging this plane down to a specific point, and then, or let's make it -1 on the y-axis. As you can see, the plane has been there, right there, and as you can see, plane has got a mesh collider. What is mesh collider? It is just similar to box collider, but the name is different because mesh takes the sign, makes this shape similar to the game object, whereas the box collider just remains a square or rectangle. So this is it, guys. And the mesh collider, the calculation time for the mesh colliders is more, because it has got more vertex over the object, because it has got more vertices, which those green lines, it has got more of them, so the calculation is more. So as you can see, I have placed the plane, and I have placed this cube at the plus 10 on the y-axis. So what I have to do right now is I want the cube to be get influenced by the gravity. So I'm just going to check that gravity on, and I'm going to uncheck this is kinematic. So once I do that, now if I play the button, the cube will fall down on the plane and is not going to fall in or going to get falling in the infinite loop. So let's press the play button and see what happens. So as I told you guys, this is what I wanted to see as a result, because what we did was we added the colliders over the object. So now if we uncheck this collider, what you are going to observe is the cube is going to pass through that plane. So as you can see, guys, the cube just directly passed through that plane. So now you would have got the rough idea of what a collider is, or what is a rigid body in the Unity game engine. So these two components are the very important components in any kind of a game engine. So whether it be an Unreal Engine or be a Cry engine, all of these engines uses the collider and rigid body functionalities.